Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So my name is Nicole Cyprian. I am the director of the Roy Howard Community Journalism Center, and thank you for joining us for this month's Media Mentors. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the gentleman that you see next to me. Today's Media Mentor knows how to call it like he sees it, on the airwaves and on the basketball court. Damien Richard is the news director at KATC in Lafayette, Louisiana, with nearly 30 years of experience in local TV news.
Damn.
He started out as an editor, then worked his way up as a cameraman and producer, covering everything from Hurricane Katrina to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. He's earned multiple awards from the Louisiana Associated Press and even national recognition for his videography. Basically, if it's a big story, Damien's either covered it, led the team that covered it, or beat everyone else to it. And fun fact, when he's not leading a newsroom, he's an NCAA basketball referee, which means he's literally trained to make tough calls under pressure. In fact, he reffed the Southern Miss basketball game just last night, so if he looks a little extra focused today, it's because he's still shaking off the courtside heckling. I've known Damien since 2021 when we worked side by side at KATC as news director and assistant news director. And when it comes to building solid sources, trusting your gut, and leading with clarity, there's no one sharper. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Damien Richard.
Oh, thank you. I know, right? Man, trusting my gut. Wow. I used to use that on Nicole, really, when it was something that, story or something, we're like, I don't know. I'm like, no, my gut's telling me we need to cover this. And I think I was wrong, probably never. Okay, maybe once or twice. But no, thank you guys for having me. You know, I'm used to being in front of a bunch of people, so if you guys have any questions, you can stop me at any point to ask questions. But really, it's about you guys. It's about what you want to know about this industry, what we can teach you, things that you may think is reality, that whenever you actually get into the business is a complete 360 of what you're being taught in the classroom on some of the things. Like the first thing that I see is when I hire someone, they think they have 2 to 3 days to turn a story, which is actually more like 6 hours. So that's some of the questions that I'll be able to answer for you guys, and as well as show you some of the things that I think is very important when it comes to being a good journalist. And maybe number one is probably storytelling and making anything into a story. My mentor told me once when I was producing that a great producer can make any story into a lead, no matter what the story is. And that is kind of the same thing for a reporter. If you're a great storyteller, you can tell any story and make anything to a story, which goes to one of my favorite stories of all time from one of our reporters, Patrick the Pole.
Last several weeks, there has been a strange occurrence happening at the Bayou Vista Walmart in the parking lot. To some, it's an annoyance. To others, it's a point of pride. But to our Mike Carter, it's a good story.
North Korea, the national debt, trouble in the Middle East. Just 3 problems that pale in comparison to a pole in the corner of a Walmart parking lot in Bayou Vista that's been wreaking havoc on customers and passersby.
They call him Patrick. Patrick the Pole.
Don't let the cute name fool you. Patrick here has been around for less than a month, but is already responsible for 9 fender benders in the last week alone.
Patrick didn't have nothing to do with it. It's the people not paying attention. I think they're trying to avoid this stop sign, and they're cutting across, and they're not seeing this pole. They're not paying attention, or they're on the cell phone.
But not everyone thinks Patrick here is so innocent.
I think this is a serious issue because people could die from this problem.
You hear that, Walmart? People could die.
That's funny. I love seeing people hitting that pole, and I watch where I'm going, so I've never hit Patrick yet.
I just think people need to stop at the stop signs like he just did.
The pole is so popular, it's developed a kind of cult following. It even has its own memes, depicting Patrick in a whole bunch of different settings. But how can we be so sure it's a Patrick and not a Patricia?
I think it's the Patrick because it's a man that's causing all this damage.
It's kind of sad in a way because so many people have hit it, and I've passed by several times, and it seems like the pole has taken more abuse than cars.
Hang in there, Patrick. St. Mary Parish loves you. Double smiley face emoji. Lita.
It's kind of strange that a pole would bring everyone together around here like it does, but sometimes the simplest things in life, makes everybody happy.
So for now, here Patrick will stand. A silent guardian. A watchful protector. It's a bright yellow pole. People really can't see this thing? No? In Bayou Vista, Mike Carter, KATC, TV3.
You never know what's going to get somebody's attention or not. Stay with us, everyone.
So the story of Patrick the Pole. We received 4 phone calls from someone saying that there's a pole in Walmart that everyone keeps hitting. I was on the assignment's desk and I was like, it's a pole. Who cares? Slow news day, and we're trying to figure out what Mike's going to do that day, as you can tell, he's a great storyteller, right? And he says, I want the pole story. And I'm like, everything that's going on in this world, you want to do a story on a pole, right? And he convinced me, obviously. And then that's his story on Patrick the Pole. Has no really, if we want to go by news judgment, right? It really has nothing. But it's just a great story that someone told that got engagement, where it's also a lighter side of news that we forget about. News isn't just destruction, it isn't just corruption. There's also a lighter side of news where there's a story for everything. Everything has a story, everyone has a story, right? So we are storytellers. And this is one of the stories that we tell. Another one, which he has it's a guy that Nicole hired. I didn't have to convince her to hire him. We hired him as a photographer. And while he was a photographer, he would do extra stuff to show us how much he wanted to be a reporter. So we had a reporter spot open, and it was a no-brainer. We hired him. So we're sitting around in our normal, me walking in Nicole's office, inventing about certain people and not being able to tell stories, and then the light came on. How about Josh does something where he just tells people's story? And I spoke to Josh this week, and I was like, Josh, find me one of your favorite segments, which we gave him. It's called What's Your Story, where he just goes out and finds random people, or they reach out to him and he tells their story. And this is one of Josh's favorites.
From none other than Mr. Excitement. Now, at least that's what he calls himself. And he tells me that he has a story filled with heart, soul, music, and everything in between. But I just had to know, why the name Mr. Excitement? Now, look, he told me he would answer that so long as I asked him one thing. What's your story?
First, I worked for the state. I've been doing, taking care of the senior citizens for like 23 years, making sure that everything is right. And on the weekend, I do the music thing.
And the music thing is his everything. For more than 30 years, Patrick Henry has been bringing energy, heart, and soul to the stage.
This is the wall of fame of Patrick Henry right here.
His wall tells the story, lined with awards, recognition, and memories that span decades.
Now, and you know what? When you think it's all said and done, I'm not even finished. And this is awards that I don't even talk about. Follow me to the next room.
And it doesn't stop there. He's even honored with his own days.
August the 8th, the Patrick Henry's Day in Brancato. November 26th, the Patrick Henry's Day in Sunset.
But before he was lighting up stages with the Liberation Band, he was just a dancer, until a friend offered some advice that would change his life.
He told me, said, Patrick, you would last longer if you could sing. I said, man, I can't sing. He said, go back home and start singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Just get the voice right.
Since 1979, inspired by legends like James Brown and Otis Redding, he's been singing and looking good doing it.
Were you always such a sharp dresser?
Because as soon as I come out, I see the suit, I need to know, were you always a sharp dresser?
Always was a sharp dresser.
When the lights go down, Patrick goes back to his other passion, driving seniors to and from an adult day healthcare center.
You know, I tell a lot of people, today is them, tomorrow could be us.
And maybe that's what makes Mr. Excitement who he is, a man who brings joy, both on and off the stage.
Say, hey man, he said, Patrick, you cold, man. He said, but your name is not Patrick Henry no more. I said, what you talking about? He said, you Mr. Excitement.
Whether he's behind the wheel or holding the mic, Patrick Henry's got one mission: to keep the music and the excitement alive. And I want to keep the stories alive, so be sure to scan that QR code to see more people sharing their stories, and be sure to reach out using my contact information that's up on the screen. Reporting for Sunset, I'm Josh Remoten with KATC TV.
Mr. Excitement. Y'all like that story? Yeah. Any questions about any of these stories? I'm gonna start asking questions. Uh-oh, someone has one. You're thinking. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Question maybe that you could tell us about the process of figuring out like a story like this, right? Obviously there are a lot of people that you can profile, but tell us about the process of being able to find Mr. Excitement, and what about him made you say, yes, that's a story? Or what about him made Josh say that's a story?
So Mr. Excitement actually reached out to Josh. He does this after every story. So, you know, the way What's Your Story first started off was we had a sign. Josh would go out with a sign and stop people. Hey, do you want to tell me your story? Do you want to tell me your story? And he got no a lot. So people would tell him no. So what's the best way for us to use him and value his time as well? Everyone uses these, right? So we just put it easier for people to contact him to tell the stories rather than him going out looking for the stories. So he was one that contacted him. He ran it by me and he was like, hey, this guy, Patrick Henry, reached out to me. Before he even said something, I said, oh, Mr. Excitement, where I'm from, I know everybody. If you ever go to Lafayette and you see me in Lafayette and we go out to eat lunch or dinner, we'll probably get stopped about literally 5 times with people stopping and wanting to hold 20-minute conversations. My wife hates it. My kids can't stand it. It's actually a joke for them to try to figure out how many people are going to stop me when we go somewhere. But when I told him, I didn't know his story. I was like, well then, let's tell the story. So he'll find people, he'll run it by us, and there's even times like it's to the point now where I'm telling Josh is, if you find someone, just go with it. He's at the point where his career where there's some trust there is built up where I can just tell him, just go with you believe because I trust the type of work that he's putting out. You had a question?
Yeah, it was going back to the first story that you played.
Patrick the Pole?
Yes.
Yes.
How were you guys able to use those photos of just like the cartoons, the funny photos that were kind of in the story? Did you run into any problems with that?
No, we didn't run into problems. So he was able, we have a database of different pictures we can do, and he photoshopped a few of them. But then there was some, when he was talking about memes that were made, people made the memes and he asked their permission to use the memes that they've made already. So there was some coordination between him and the people that posted. Yeah. So now more on the hard news part of it. Covered Katrina. That was, you know, I was producing at the time and still being a photographer. So that was a month and a half of just working 10 to 12 hour shifts a day. I think probably the hardest part about covering that story was the Sunday after the levees broke. I was giving someone a break and went to Katrina, went to New Orleans with a reporter. Her name is Cheryl Mercedes. She is actually an anchor in Houston right now. We get there. There is an overpass. One side is completely dry, and they was using the other side of the overpass as a boat launch. Guy comes up and is asking to pay someone money to just take him to his house. And there was also a scuba diver there. Was going to pay the scuba diver about $10,000 just to get to his house, to get to a safe where he had all of his personal information so he can try to open a bank account. He had some cash in there, just even get whatever cash is left, because at that point he was without nothing. No credit cards, nothing at all, and he was just stranded. So that was probably one of the hardest parts. If you can tell, I'm still a little choked up about it, but that's just part of the industry itself with it. But there's a lot of highlights with this industry, and I live more on the highlights than on the harder news stories. Stories like this is part of the highlights. Stories like this also remind me of humanity and remind me of the great things that happens in the world, and remind me of the good people that's in the world, because we have enough destruction that's going on. Now transitioning from the education world into the workforce, I think the hardest part is just the workload. We know it. It's just the workload is such a big difference from 3 days to turn a story to you have to turn a story in 1 day, right? That's a major adjustment. Excuse me. Also with that, it's a right to make a mistake in TV. It's a right to do your first live shot and you completely bomb the live shot. It's a right, because we won't put your live shot on the internet if you mess it up, right? Your live shot on TV only lasts a minute at most, and then it's gone. But whatever you do for the internet lasts forever, right? And I'm not trying to, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to intimidate you guys with it, but just think, if you make a mistake on live TV, it's a right. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have a bad edit. It's just, what do we do after that? How do we learn from it? How do we bounce back from these type of mistakes? All this stuff it's a right, and that's coming from a news director who, I say it in the meetings, I want people to make mistakes, because I want people to learn. I want people to know, okay, I made this mistake. I can overcome this mistake, and now I have this product. Josh and I had several conversations about his shooting where he made quite a few mistakes, but now look at the product that he's constantly turning over and over again. Mike made a bunch of mistakes, but in product, it's still some good product. Any other questions? I know somebody have. Go ahead.
Well, taking a lead from the What's Your Story clip that you showed us, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into the news industry? Just that kind of break the ice a little bit.
Sure. So I got into the news industry. Yeah, Nicole mentioned I've been in for 30 years, but I'm probably 35 right now. Sorry. So I got in the news industry. From young, I knew I wanted to be in this industry. But a friend that I played basketball with, obviously he's older, he was working at the CBS station as a cameraman. And I went with him to the station that day, one day. The weekday editor ended up quitting. So I'm there. News director walks out and asks me, do you want a job? So I'm like, no brainer, right? So I started off editing. Monday through Friday, I edit the shows for the 5 and 6 newscasts And then I also shot video on the weekend, which the more video you shoot, the better you become as an editor. So from there, I just progressively moved up, ended up producing, then got into the management side. With this, it's a lot of time a lot of holidays I missed because I was working. I picked up whatever shift possible. I'm also a news junkie. I'll tell you today, 3 stories on the website is because I woke up this morning, I was watching news and I already started calling them, telling them, let's get this up, let's get this up, let's get this up. I am a news hound. I'm nosy and I just want to know everything that's going on, really. And I think that's one of the things to be good in this industry is you really want to know. You just need to know what's going on. Yes, ma'am.
You're talking about, transitioning from, education to the actual workforce, going from, having 2 to 3 days to turn around a story to a day or even less, a couple of hours. What was that transition like for you? Did you experience that, or what have you seen in other people? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so for me, I came through a different route, the non-traditional route, but for some others, it's, I know for my group, we just hired a reporter 4 months ago. So her first 3 months was basically just getting her up to speed on everything with training. We did practice runs where, okay, here's your story, go ahead and get it out. You won't turn a package, but you may turn a VOSOT, and here's your deadline. If you hit the deadline, great. If you don't, good, let's still get it turned, but let's talk about what we can do to help you get hit the deadline. So it also depends on what station you go to. Some move a lot faster. Like we had some reporters where we had no choice but to throw them in the fire within 2 weeks because we didn't have any reporters. We're a small market, it just depends. But with that, I wouldn't stress out too much. We put a lot of pressure on deadlines. Yes, we do need to stick by the deadlines, but you can only do what you can do. Your leadership team should also give you some guidance and help you with your time management throughout the day where you can hit the deadline. Yes, sir.
I know you said you're an involved community member.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're a community journalism center, and we're always trying to make sure that the counties that we cover are checking in on what we're doing, and engaging back with us. So as far as social media is concerned, how has that looked like for you at KATC in the past couple of years?
Social media, we've picked up our social media over the past couple of years. So we can put things out to clickbait all day long, right? I mean, if you say President Trump, that's gonna easy 1,000 clicks, right? If you say anything that has to do with police brutality, easy 1,000 clicks. But is that all we want to see? It's not, right? The more community-based stuff is we have to be intentional of making sure we're showing the positive light in the community. Like for instance, even with everything that's going on with all the SNAP benefits, why not show some of the food banks? Why not give people the information on the food banks on the social media, on your social medias? Because really, your generation, that's where you're going to first. You're not going to KATC app. You're going to your social media and just waiting for it to come up within your feed. So by us being intentional of doing that and using the feeds to our advantage, that doesn't just help us, it helps everybody. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I have another social media based question, but it's just kind of like on the flip. So how do you use social media to find stories if you use it at all?
So Facebook still exists, okay? There's still all the Facebook groups. I use that a lot. I don't use X too much, but I use Facebook groups a lot. I also, Instagram has become real big for me lately. I'm not into TikTok. That's just me, my personal. But we use any form of social media we can, just constantly looking at it, looking at different groups. And then once you really start building a certain algorithm, then it starts popping up for you on its own. I would suggest if you're looking for news, like follow all the big ones. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, even some of the big newspapers, follow those, because after a while, it'll just start popping up on your feed higher up.
So you mentioned about story pitches. If you actually submit story pitches on a regular basis, raise your hand. So we got a lot of folks who are submitting story pitches. So can you talk just a little bit about, for your reporters or for employees that you have that are just starting, what that process is for them to be able to figure out, okay, who do I follow, who do I talk to, how do I build relationships to be able to find stories and then pitch them?
Cool. First thing, I would suggest pick your phone up and call people. That is an art in this industry that is starting to die. I actually was speaking to a PIO who retired, public information officer. I was speaking to one who retired probably about a year ago. I ran into him at the gym and we were talking, and he said that one of the reasons he got out, he just didn't get any more relationships with reporters like he used to. So really the ones who get the stories, the big stories, like the breaking stories, or the things that's like the whistleblowers that's coming out, then really good investigative stories, those tips are coming from people that are picking up the phone and calling you because you have that relationship with that person, and they're letting you know, like, hey, you may want to look out for this, or here's a tip on this. So that's one thing to building stories. Another thing is you have to be nosy. You have to be aware of everything that's going around you, and always be curious to know and want to know more. If you're walking down campus and you see a big pothole that you walk by for a month, why isn't it filled? That's something that affects everyone, and that can be an easy story for you, right? And how much does the story that you're telling really affect people? If it's only a story that may interest you, but only 2 people are affected that would only care about, is it really a story? Maybe a story to them, but is that a story that we want the masses to hear, or is that a story that will really impact our community? And community impact is also probably the biggest of them all. That's kind of some of the things I judge on. And really the hardest thing is fighting against your own biases when you're picking out the stories and saying what a story is. There is a running joke at the station that I hate animals. I can't stand animals, because I'm the first one to shoot down a animal story, because we have so many people that will pitch an animal story every day, and not just really a story, but there's a rabies clinic that happens every week. Can I go do a story on it? Well, we mentioned this rabies clinic last week. Do we really need to mention it again? This can be on the website. Or there is a animal shelter that's doing a pet adoption again. There's other things, right? So that's one of the things we have to fight. Is my love for one thing really getting in the way of me finding the story? Am I showing any biases towards one subject or not? And by the way, I do like pets. I just want to say we had a pet turtle in the station. I'm the reason we had a pet turtle in the station. Just throw it out there. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I know you kind of talked about your experience covering Katrina. What about the oil spill? Like, what kind of
So when I covered the BP oil spill, oh man, I was on the assignments desk. So at that point, I was over coordinating crews and getting crews out there. I also made a big mistake because I sent the crew to the wrong area because I took a phone call and it was someone that I trusted and it was like, no, go to this area. You may be able to get on a boat to get out there. Not knowing all the information that's gone is just reacting, right? Because you're hearing this big catastrophe that's going on and we want to be there. We want to bring the pictures, we want to bring the video. So I was involved in a lot of the coordination of it when it came to our coverage. I was in contact with CBS and CNN a lot with the videos that we had coming in and just information we had from the crew out in the field. So I wasn't on the ground itself, I was more behind the scenes at that point. Now, one story I did do that was pretty fun, that I actually got national recognition for. There was I think it was 2000. There was a train derailment in Eunice, Louisiana that evacuated the entire city. It's a city of about 3,000 people. I'm a young photographer on the way to the, I'm on the way. I'm over the speed limit. State police comes right behind me and I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. The state trooper, who was also a public information officer, looked at me, passed me up, he waved and he just kept going. So I was like, all right, good. I can make it. I get there. We have our first media briefing. They ask if who wants to go up in the helicopter. We're evacuating the entire city, but because there's poisonous chemicals and everything else, it's not good for everyone, breathing area, but who wants to go in a helicopter? And I did this. So I end up being in a helicopter hanging on a harness with the camera, hanging flat out of a helicopter, recording the train derailment that ended up going across the country and across the world with that video. Yes. So thinking back about it now, I don't know if that was the smartest decision, but it's a good story to tell, you know.
You mentioned about news conferences, and I don't know if she's in the room or they're in the room, but there was a class or two that just recently did a mock news conference to experience that. So can you talk about like what, if we had students who were to go to a press conference or a news conference, what they can expect, what some of the questions they should ask, like what that environment is like?
Sure. So for news conferences, I think the easiest thing I can say is for news conferences, there's no friends. You have to be super aggressive when it comes to news conferences. Like say this podium, for instance, if I was at a news conference, I'm making sure I want to get there first and I'm making sure my mic is right in the middle. That way I'm aware, I know I'm gonna get the best sound of it. And also every other station, my mic could be right in the front of their coverage or no matter what TV you're on. That's just the competitive side of it. Getting there and being polite if someone's talking and not talking over them, that doesn't work. That's probably one of the few times we can say it's all right to be rude on keep talking and talking over someone to get your questions out, because your question and your story is the most important thing. There's a lot of nice things that we do, but there's times where we have to just be, I guess, flat out rude to make sure that we get what we need. And don't be afraid to ask the question. Their job, if you're in front of that press conference, your job is to answer the question. No matter what the question is, ask the question. If the harder questions, we We do get nervous to ask the question, right? But their job is to answer the question. We may feel like someone will get mad at us or someone won't like us. Trust me, they'll get over it. They'll get over it fast because they will need you to do a positive story on something, and they will be over it real quick. Did I answer your question? Getting good at this. Yes, ma'am.
I know you mentioned it briefly, but like, what was it like covering Hurricane Katrina? Like, what was it like being like on the ground?
So I give you two sides of it. In the booth, when I was producing the coverage, we did, and then Hurricane Rita was a month and a half afterward, which also devastated southwest Louisiana, and Lafayette is kind of like right in the middle, so we got both sides of it. So in the booth, I would spend couple hours a day producing a show. While I was in the booth, I was able to separate it as this is TV and it's like me watching it on TV. I was able to do some type of mental separation, but actually being on the ground, seeing how many people are impacted is trying to find a place for myself to separate and realize, hey, I have a job to do. I need to get my job done. What was satisfying and what helped was the reporter I was with, Cheryl. She's originally from New Orleans, and her mom's house was destroyed. It wasn't from the flood, it was destroyed by a tree falling on it. But she also had an impact on it where we were able to talk about it afterward. I've also speak to a therapist. I also spoke to a therapist a few times behind this business, which is all right to speak to someone about. Just so that's some of the things that help with it. But just the initial seeing it, it's coming into a place to say, okay, I have to get this job done. I'm here to inform the public of what's going on, and this is what I have to do to inform the public. Yes, sir.
As a self-proclaimed news junkie myself,
Mhm.
how have you separated work and your personal life? Because if you see something happening and you're not working, and you see is there ever a time where you're like, I can't separate work and personal?
Nicole would fuss at me about this all the time. I'm just programmed that way. I have a few passions in the world, and my passions are my life. Journalism's one of them. My family's one of them. Refereeing's one of them. So it's me finding a balance between all of them, right? So my break away from it is the time I spend with my family or the time I'm refereeing. But besides that, my mind's always turning, I'm always looking. So I also have one more outlet. I work out every day. 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the gym working out while I'm watching the news. But that's still my outlet. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of bounce off of his question, and this might kind of get the same answer, but how do you, I'll give context, with the state of, with all the news that comes out right now, all the just kind of, it's a lot, and it can put a mental strain on, anybody, especially like younger people, like I know me, I'll go home and be like, oh, I'm just gonna relax and get on social media, it's just this horrible thing that happened, this horrible thing that happened,
Right.
this horrible thing that, how do you kind of deal with that per se, do you ever just kind of have to stop looking for a little while and just kind of take a mental reset? How do you deal with that?
I give myself time to deal with it, like the gym, spending time with the family. My family knows when I get home the first 30 minutes, I'll put Martin on and just sit there and stare at the TV for 30 minutes, which is kind of like a reset for me. But also, I know my limitations, right? I'm a news junkie. I have an idea what's going on with national news, but more so local news. I'm really dove into local news. So if I see a national story, say in my social media feed, I'll just read the headline and say, okay, that's it, and then I'm done with it. That way I can just really know what I need to focus on. Yes, sir.
Going off of that, like there's a lot of national news coming out of DC every single day, it seems. How do you balance like local coverage and national coverage?
Conversations in our editorial meeting. One of the first comments we make every day is like, what's the big story that's happening nationally? Like lately it's been the food stamps. And then once that comes out, okay, what do we do here from there? What stories do we have locally that we can do something? If there's not a story, we're not going to force it. We had to make a conscious decision on, when it comes to politics, on being real selective on what national political stories we're going to do on our station. Because if we just got caught into the national politics, we wouldn't have local news. It would just all be national stories. But we will run something, say 5 o'clock, we will run a national wrap package either by ABC or Scripps News. 6 o'clock is just hyper local. So that forces us just to be straight local, and 10 is like a wrap up of the day. Yes, sir.
Back to news conferences with police, nowadays I feel like they always say go to the press release or no comment. How do you tell your reporters or photographers to get around that, to try to get an answer out of them?
Still ask the question. Say if it's in the press release, something real vague, right? Like suspect fled the scene and that's it. And you're asking for a description and it's no comment. Well, if we have a armed suspect, shouldn't the community have an idea of what to look for? That can possibly be a further question. Like, sometimes we have to push the issue, and a lot of the public information officers now, they aren't trained the way they were, say, 10 years ago. There's a lot of information that they don't want to put out because of the way social media blows certain things up, and they will say it's for the integrity of the investigation. But there are some things that's being said where it's like, okay, this is just straight BS, and you don't want to answer this question, which we have to be able to press that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so still on the subject about the press conference.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle if you get like a date wrong or a time wrong, a certain situation? For example, like if you say something happened 2 years ago, but it was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, and they catch you, like how do you like personally come back from that?
They catch me as I made a mistake on air?
Yes.
Transparency. If it's on the website, we'll fix it, then we'll put a line saying, hey, we did not report this right, here's the correct information. So that's one of the problems that we're fighting as an industry, where because of social media, a lot of people feel that we aren't transparent anymore. So any chance that we have to show that we're transparent and to own up to our mistakes, we'll go ahead and do it.
Okay, and what about if it happens in like a press conference?
If we ask the wrong question, or if they give us the wrong information.
Like if you say something happened 2 years ago and they said it happened 2 weeks ago, how would you I guess come back from that if they say, oh well, I didn't say that, I said it was 2 weeks ago?
Oh, if someone part of the press conference telling us that we made the mistake.
Yes.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just have to stand on business. Hey, this is what you told us. If you want to retract what you said and we make a correction, we have no problem making a correction. But this is where we got the information from. Hmm? Yes, ma'am.
So like, what's the process of getting an interview, especially like if the story is due in less than a day?
That's a great question. That's where it comes to relationships, right? So if you have the relationship with certain people, they make themselves available. And then it also comes with not just your relationship, but the relationship of the station itself. There's one police chief in Jeanerette. If any one of my reporters call him, send him a text message or anything, he immediately calls me and asks me, like, what do they want? Should I even talk to him today? My answer is always the same. Yeah, go ahead and talk to him. So it comes with relationships. It also comes with time management. That is something that I still struggle with. It is something that we'll always be adjusting with based on the story, based on the day. It is something that I think everyone needs to put that in the forefront, especially in this industry. So does it make sense to set an interview up at 3 o'clock to get an on-camera interview with a city official when you can have a phone conversation with them and still get the information and just report the information you have, right? Compared to, do I need to talk to Miss Sally, who is actually going through this problem, and the only time she can meet me is at 3 o'clock. So that would come from, if you do that, let's have that conversation with everyone back at the station so we can make adjustments. Communication, we're all in communication. I'll be the first to say that communication in the newsroom is probably the worst communication anywhere, because we're all focused on our goal and what we have to do, but we never really communicate with everyone. And the more communication we have, it just makes everything a lot smoother. Yes, ma'am.
What are some challenges you faced, like in your career?
In my career, technology is always one. Technology challenges. I think probably my hardest challenge was adjusting, evolving with time. And with the time evolution is the way I came up in the industry and the way we were taught the business is a lot different now. The way I received information is a lot different from the way you guys received information, right? So the way I came up, if there was a mistake, we were getting cursed out. We were getting screamed at, we were getting cursed out. It was like what the hell are you doing? You're in the wrong business. You need to get out of here. Don't even come back to my newsroom until you figure it out, type of thing. Can't do that now, right? So that was kind of a transition for me. One of the hardest things is realizing that the way I deliver the message, because I am a straightforward person, the way I deliver the message could be perceived a different way from the way I am trying to get it to come across. Yes, sir.
So a lot of reporter positions are no longer just reporter, it's also you're the videographer,
Mhm.
the editor, you're the MMJ.
Correct.
What are the most important skills that MMJs nowadays need to have to succeed?
Communication. Stop texting. Start picking the phone up and calling. Multitasking. And the biggest time management, because the day will get away from you when you're by yourself, more so than when you have someone with you. I have to get this, and this done. One of the advantages I had was before social media, and it was everything went on TV. we had only 15, 20 minutes at each place, so we had to work fast, right? Like just get in, get out, get in, get out, so we can get everything back to the station so it can get on TV so people can see it. Now you have social media where it can get put on out a lot faster, but that also slows us down while we're out in the field because we also have the safe area of, oh, if I can put on social media real quick, that gives me more time to talk to this person where I can find the perfect shot, and then now I can spend this time editing, get it on TV. And now a lot of people really only have one story compared to at one time we gave multiple stories to get done throughout the day. So time management is probably one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing a lot of people dealing with. And there's also so many more outlets for you to get information. Yes, ma'am.
Would you hire somebody by just looking at their resume, or would you hire somebody if you knew them? Which one would you, basically which one? If you knew them, had a relationship, kind of, or they had a great resume, who would you most likely choose, basically?
Based off of what I see on air interviews, now would I be a fool to say the person that I know and I know their work ethics, will they not have a little bump ahead of a person I don't know? They probably would, but there's a series of questions that I ask when it comes to hiring. Also, hiring people that you really know is not always the best fit. There's a lot of struggles with it. I still struggle with a few people that when I first started, we built a good working relationship. Now I'm their boss. I still struggle with certain things with them because you build that relationship. So if I have to tell them you're doing something bad, it stings a little more for that person, and it stings for me a little bit more so than if I just start from a flat slate and like, hey, we need to get this done. It's a little easier for both parties. But I do look at resumes. I do look at video. I'll tell you my process. I'll look at before I even read the resume, I want to see you real. I want to see how you look on camera. I want to see how you tell stories. And even before I read the resume, I want to see writing samples. Then we'll go from the resume from there. Because we can have somebody with a resume that looks master's degree from this school and did this program, and then you have someone who didn't have the same opportunities as that other person. But if I base it just off the resumes, I may be losing someone without those opportunities more so than the person with the big resume. Like Mike Carter has his master's from Syracuse. Josh, his, I forgot what his degree is. I think his degree's in theater. So Josh is a great storyteller, right? So if I would have based just off of the two resumes, I'm losing a great storyteller. One reporter I have now, Katie Navarro, her background is in photography. And she's grown within the last 6 months as one of my strongest reporters. So it also based on people's personality as well. Good question. Yes, sir.
What are you looking for in a reel?
I am looking for camera presence. I am looking to see how natural you are on camera, how comfortable you are in front of the camera. I'm looking for storytelling. That's really what I'm looking for. The creative stand-ups, they catch my eye. They really do. We also realize when I'm looking at reels from a lot of college students are the ones who did like internships. Also realize some of those are helped from the reporter that they may be paired up with to work on. So I take some of those creative stand-ups with a grain of salt, especially coming out of college. I'm just looking for what type of presence and the potential that I see in that person. Now, it's different from if this is your second job, right? I'm expecting a lot more rather than it's your first job. And we're a training market, so I realize your first job, it's a lot of growth that's going to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you mentioned how, like Josh and Carter, he had a theater background, and hired someone else who's a photographer who's working as a reporter. If you're looking for that real as part of like how they're being hired, like what is one way that you would encourage someone who's looking to go into reporting, journalism, whatever, but started out in a different field to gain that experience when they're like past that college level? Like they didn't go to school for that, so they weren't involved in like the media organizations in school, but now that they want to go into that as a career, how would you recommend for them to gain experience in that field to be able to present you with a reel or a resume, whatever you're looking for?
So that's one reason we do the writing assessments, to see your writing skills or where your writing level on. You know, I mean, I actually hired someone who starts December 1st. Print, he did print, but he wants to get in front of the camera. He had vertical videos as his reel of him doing different stand-ups and at different events, vertical videos that went on. He used that as his reel, and I'm hiring him because of the energy he had with it. One of the stories, I think it was a protest at one of the stories, even with him reporting on that story with the protest, with everything that was going on, it was just a calm about himself when he was presenting himself and talking to everyone. So there's ways around it. If this is something you want, you're gonna find a way. And I'm also looking for that as well. Yeah, go ahead.
This is my last one. For the real, are you looking for hard news, or are you looking for, if it's just like fluff stories and they put the...
Do a balance of both, yeah. I want to see you be able to tell a hard story, and I want to be able to see some fluff as well. There's one question I ask all the time, what type of news do you like? Oh, I like hard news. I want to investigate. I want the politics. I want all the drama of everything, and then their first 6 or 7 stories they pitch is about a bake sale. And then when you put a hard news story in front of them, it's like, what to do? So do a little bit both. There's gonna be training. One of my only suggestions, become a sponge. There's gonna be, when you guys get in a newsroom, there's going to probably be 1 or 2 ornery old people that sit in the corner and complain all day long. That's the ones you want to attach to when it comes to how to do certain things, because they've been in the business forever and they can tell you all the ins and outs. Cool. Anything else? Awesome. You're welcome.
So Damien is going to stick around for a little bit for anybody who wants to just come up and maybe ask him a question individually. If you are not in the Community Journalism Center and you came today, first of all, thank you very much. I would like for you to see Abria before you leave, just so that she can get your name and your contact information so that we can just keep you posted on things that the center is doing on a regular basis. As you know, or as you may not know, we do Media Mentors every month. The only month that we do not do Media Mentors is in August, because you guys are coming back to school and you got to kind of get, together with that first before we start bringing folks in. So we will have another Media Mentors next month. It'll be December 4th, whatever the first Friday in December is. I can't remember off the... There you go. December the 5th will be our next Media Mentors with Lane Bruce, who is the president of the Mississippi Press Association. So again, Damien will stick around for a few minutes, and if you are not with the Community Journalism Center and you came to see us today, please come see Abria up front just to give your name and your information. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having Damien. See you guys next month. Good job, sir.
No F-bombs.